Welcome to the channel, welcome to the second part of the front suspension rebuild. Here I am at my local Volvo dealer here in Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada. It's a beautiful dealership, recently remodeled. Here is my dream Volvo V90 cross country. It's a welcoming place, a pleasure to be here. It's beautiful. I love coming here, and today I'm gonna be gathering some more parts to pick up while the car is on jack stands. I'm using my trusty 1990 Volvo 240, and today the springs have arrived, including all the mounts and some extra hardware. So hopefully I have everything to complete this job. In the previous video, part 1, we took everything apart. I'm gonna put the link in the description below or on the screen right now. If you haven't watched it, you are welcome. Just a reminder, the mileage on the vehicle is 142,000 kilometers. Let's take a closer look at all the parts that I got. All original except the shocks. Let's give a little bit more detail. So these are 4 times cheaper than Volvo original shocks made by Sachs, and these are the original manufacturer for Volvo, made in Slovakia. So if you're gonna get Volvo shocks, they're gonna be exactly the same, made in Slovakia, just in a different box. The springs are Volvo original, made in Germany, and these are VIN specific, so you gotta make sure that you order the parts specific to your VIN, because there is a lot of variants to the suspension in our Volvos. Control arms made in Czech Republic. I actually bought them just under a year ago. I didn't want to spend the whole sum at once, so I was slowly gathering all the parts. Glad that I went with original Volvo control arms. They will last for a long time. So it's gonna be a pleasure to drive this car once everything is complete. Made in Czech Republic. Let's continue. The strut mount bearings, made in Germany. Brand new. They're actually not that expensive considering what's involved here. Yes, I could have taken them apart and added some more grease. I decided not to. Mine lasted all those years, so I see no reason. Made in Spain, strut mounts. I decided to go with new. Everything is apart, so it's gonna be a pity to reuse those. They are definitely a wear item. Sway bar bushings, nothing wrong with mine, but they're cheap and they're gonna be hard to put back onto the car. I'm gonna reuse the boots and the bump stops. If you compress, they're not torn, they're not falling apart, and they're not cheap. And looks like they've never been even compressed. The spring seats, I thought I'm gonna be reusing them, but I've read some comments that people gave me feedback. Yuri, replace those. They will not last a second set. So I had to go to do another visit to the dealer. Here are the brand new, and let me tell you, there is a difference. They feel definitely more soft, more pliable. All the parts will be listed in the description below, so you don't have to pause here. And again, VIN specific, it might not fit other Volvos. So yeah, these are all the parts. Some of the hardware will be reused. The knuckle and the ball joint bolts are new. The control arm bolts will be reused. I see no reason to pay $50 for them. And the strut bolts will be cleaned and they're gonna look like new. So that completes the list of the parts. Now to the sponsor of the channel, d5t5.com, sponsoring the channel. Thanks to them, I'm a little small on YouTube, and I'm glad I have a sponsor. So when you purchase anything, it supports me. And VDD function extender is actually in both of my Volvos. It's a great device to extend the functionality of your Volvo, and it will basically work between 98 to 2023. So get yours. I'm gonna put a detailed video that I did about this function extender dongle. So visit the video, and I hope you enjoy it. Let's continue. Now, comment below. I want your opinion. What do you think about the shocks? Because what I've noticed comparing to the new ones, that the old ones collapse a lot easier than the new ones. They come out stiff and they go in stiff, but when you push hard on them quick, they collapse pretty easy inwards. So comment below what you think about these shocks. Are they done or they're still functioning properly? Now, you know me, I'm gonna take extra steps in this process, and I'm gonna cover everything with a couple of layers of rock guard rubberized spray. It's nice and sunny outside, it's warm, so this product dries pretty quick. So you can recoat pretty much after 15 minutes. So I did a couple of coats, at least 3, especially the springs. I do want to extend their life by covering them. I did the same on the rear suspension, so we'll see how long it's gonna last. Same process I did for the new shocks, using some alcohol, 99% alcohol. I'm gonna degrease, take off the dust, and the alcohol evaporates pretty much immediately, and I'm gonna cover that too. Now this is the tool I got from Amazon, a little bit better quality, heavy duty spring compressor. Let's see how it's gonna do the job. Let's start assembling. Now, I have already assembled one side, so I've practiced, I wanna say. Now, if you look at the strut, you see at the bottom there is a notch. So this notch right here should align with the strut mount and the bearing. So the flat side goes inwards into the car, and this notch will align with the flat side. On the bearing, these two plastic notches should align also with the notch on the shock. So basically it's gonna look like that, and that will be a proper assembly of the strut. Hopefully it makes sense. So the notch goes onto the flat side, and this round thing will align with this hole. bump stop. This is the bottom. The more flat one will be facing up here. Now beware, a little disclaimer, do this at your own risk. Compressed spring has a lot of energy, and if something snaps, something goes south, it can hurt. So I've taken the risk. It's up to you to take the risk, but I've done it. And honestly, this whole job was not easy at all. An extra set of hands will be really helpful. I've completed everything by myself, and I'm proud. I did use microfiber cloth here just to protect a little bit the coating on the springs. It will still take off some of the coating that I put, but I will spray some extra once everything is together. And let me tell you that this tool actually worked pretty well. It was a lot more heavy duty, and I was able to assemble with no issues. Now I did watch a couple of YouTube videos on the strut assembly on the Volvos, and none of them showed a little trick that needs to be done, and I'm gonna show you here what I'm talking about very soon. Something that I found out doing this job myself, so I'm gonna give you the tip in a moment. And this was really awkward because I don't have a proper stand to hold the strut, and it's all wobbly, and you need extra hands here, but I did it. Make sure that the bottom edge spring aligns with the notch on the rubber, roughly, because it's not gonna go in yet. And the spring is compressed a lot, and it's still not enough to reach the nut. So as you can see here, I'm pushing with both hands just to get the nut started. That's how much you need to compress the spring to get the nut going. Now, the notch at the bottom is aligned with the notch on the top, and you'll see that it's not gonna work. I'm gonna show you why. I'm gonna tighten the nut using 18mm socket, hollow socket from Amazon, and a hex 6mm to counter hold the shaft. And then you gotta tighten the nut to 55 Newton meters. Now let's release the tension. I've aligned the marks, and this is what happens. Because the spring is not straight, it has a bend in it. So what happens once the tension is released? The spring turns the upper mount, and the marks do not align anymore. As you can see already from here, that the bottom notch is not aligned with the top notch on the mount. Take a look here. See how the mount on top looks to the left compared to the notch at the bottom, which means you have to counter the marks. The upper mount, you gotta go 3 centimeters to the right. So I've compressed the spring again, and see how the top mount now is misaligned with the mark at the bottom. And now when I'm gonna release the tension, finally it's nice and straight and aligned. So that's the little trick. The top mount, turn it to the right approximately 3 centimeters. Extra coating, I've covered the boot with a microfiber towel, let it sit and dry, and here are both struts, nice and assembled, completed. Some extra layer of protective coating, actually looks pretty good. Yeah, and this is interesting. ADLM, BDLM, wonder why. Now let's install the control arm, but before that, the bushing. The bushing, just spread it, put it on the bar, and the trouble will be installing the bracket on top of it, which is super tight. There is not much room. This is the orientation of the bracket, so you know how it's gonna sit. The control arm slides super easy onto the subframe. The bolts from factory have thread locker, so I'm gonna add a little bit of the blue one. Now it was hard to film, but pry bar and a little bit of force, you gotta thread the nut and the bolt just like this, align the bracket over the bushing, and then tighten, alternating the bolts to tighten the bracket over the bushing. It's a lot harder than it looks in the video here. A little bit of wire brushing the knuckle, so it's gonna look a little bit better from inside. Now to the strut, completely doable with one person. You can actually see from inside the holes, so I'm gonna thread one bolt to keep it in place and then thread the rest of the bolts. And that's done. Don't tighten the bolts yet. We want some wiggle room to install the strut into the knuckle. And as you can see here, the bolts are visible. That sounds pretty good, minus the sand and the dirt like previously. And installing the knuckle over the strut. This piece is super heavy and it would be much easier to do with a second person. So just put it all the way in, and I'm gonna use temporarily the control arm to support the weight of the knuckle and the brake disc to tighten the knuckle bolt. All done by myself here, not very comfortable, but definitely doable. Once it's in and the weight is supported by the control arm, you want to confirm that it's seated all the way in, and the notch is gonna go in the gap on the knuckle, and we can see the metal piece on the shock is actually against the knuckle, so that confirms it's in. Hammer out the chisel. And I will torque everything at the very end. Now it's time to reinstall this sway bar link, including the ABS sensor bracket. Now I'm gonna reinstall the axle into the hub. The dust shield has seen better days, but they're like over $100 each, so I decided to let them rust a little bit more time before I replace them. After all this job, make sure to clean with the brake cleaner the discs, the brake disc from inside and out, to remove any oil residue from the work. You have to use new axle bolts. ABS sensor, I did use some compressed air because there was debris inside. Make sure it's nice and clean. The brake pads go back into position. I did clean the bracket and added some brake grease to refresh. And I did paint the calipers black. I'll show you later what I've used. 2 coats, and it looks really nice. Now quickly we'll do the other side, which went faster since the passenger side was complete, so I knew what I'm doing. And let me tell you that assembling everything back together was harder than taking it apart. And I did treat the light rust inside where the strut sits on the body, double coated everything with rubberized coat. Control arm into the subframe. A little bit of WD-40 to let the bracket slide easier on the bushing. Just make sure you don't lubricate the inside of the bushing. It needs to be lubrication free, rubber against the metal, so it's nice and snug. And again, this was one of the hardest part, was to put the brackets over the bushings. Using a pry bar, I was able to roughly align the bracket over the bushing, and now just fish the bolts through and thread the nuts. Make sure it's aligned before you tighten them. I did struggle on this side a little bit. It was hard to hold the weight of the knuckle and at the same time push the control arm down and align the bolt joint, but finally it went in. Let's confirm that the shock is seated properly in the knuckle, and it is. Now this whole job of assembling took me from 10 a.m. till 7 p.m. including lunch and including organizing all the tools back in their position. So it took a whole day, and the next day my body was all sore from all the different positions that I had to encounter, putting everything back together. So it was fun. It was fun, but I did it. I did it, and I was so happy that I did it all by myself without any help. Let's torque everything. So the caliper pins 28 Newton meters. Reinstall the plastic dust caps. Strut tower bolts 24 Newton meters. They don't take a lot of force, so make sure you don't strip the threads. Very light pressure here. All done up top. We can pretty much close the hood. The sway bar link nut 55 Newton meters. The knuckle and the ball joint bolts 110 Newton meters. Front control arm bushing 140 and then 45 degree. $175 Newton meters for the rear control arm bushing. And it seems like the bolt is spinning with the nut, so counter hold with a 21mm wrench up top. Okay, so that spins freely. I'm gonna use a screwdriver to stop it from spinning. And that will be 35 Newton meters and 90 degree. So this is the paint I've used, semi-gloss rust paint and a little brush. Made everything look much better. Now it's time to clean the inner liners, and I was lazy, so I cleaned them only from inside. And here's the final look of the suspension, including the caliper, painted Looks really fresh, really clean. Everything is treated against rust, double coated. Same on the other side. Looks pretty good. So the only thing that wasn't replaced are the inner tie rods. The outer were replaced, including the links. So something I will keep an eye on. Time to reinstall the wheel liners. I'm gonna speed up the process here. Not hard at all. So hopefully that this preventive maintenance will last for the next at least 10 years, considering the mileage I put on the XC70, and I feel like this was a good decision to replace everything ahead of time before I start chasing what's broken, what's that noise coming from. Replace it, forget about it, and just worry-free driving. And I can't wait to drive the car and see the difference it made, if any, considering I had no issues and the suspension felt pretty normal to me. Now, I want to hear your opinion, so comment below. Should I perform an alignment? The intuition says yes, it's good practice to check the alignment after such a major repair, but I will not do it. I'm gonna first drive the car and see if anything went off and how it behaves on the road. So comment below what you think. So here's the moment of truth. I've actually driven the car for the whole week. I'm editing the video a week later after the repair, which is right now. And let me tell you that overall, no difference, which proves that my suspension was fine. What I do notice is probably how the shocks behave. So the car feels more steady on the road, it holds the road better, it doesn't bounce as much since the shocks are now new and they're stiffer. And this is exactly what I feel. The car feels stiffer on the road, but in a good way. It absorbs the bumps better, it doesn't bounce as much, it feels steady on the road. The steering wheel is still straight as it was before, it tracks really well down the road, and it just feels more balanced. It feels good. So this is my feedback after the repair. It does prove that there was nothing wrong with my suspension, but after all those years and all those kilometers, it's just good to replace it, forget about it, and enjoy the car. I really hope that you enjoyed this video, so support me by just liking the video, subscribe to the channel. Don't forget the notification bell. You can make a small donation using the super thanks. And thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.